It has cost
$12 trillion.
$12 trillion.
Say it again.
I'll say it again.
$12 trillion.
$12 trillion.
Your money.
Your money.
In the film.
What we did
was to try and trace the line.
between
the person who lost his house.
Between the person who lost his house
and the guys who ran the banks.
We were told you couldn't do it. Too complicated. It wasn't. I'll give you an example. Baltimore. Bad neighborhood. Auction. Hundreds of houses. Auctioned every day. Before the crash. This is 2008. Early. We wrote down the addresses of the houses that were being auctioned. We went there. Who did we find? A high school teacher who taught social studies, who taught civil rights. Very bright guy. Bad neighborhood. Nice house. Why? Beautiful garden. He planted it. He painted it. Living there with his family. A very nice family. He was packing his boxes. He filed for bankruptcy that morning. He took us into his house. He asked, why is this happening? We went around the house with him. We went upstairs to the children's room. He showed us a plane. He said, this plane is from the Tuskegee Airmen. I wanted to decorate the kids' room with that theme. And I'm very upset. We've lost it all. We traced his mortgage. Who owned it? Who was the servicer? Linton. In Texas. Did they own it? No. Who owned it? Goldman Sachs. Where was that mortgage? We looked on the Bloomberg screens. We found a great financial journalist called Mark Pittman at Bloomberg, who said, let's try and find it. Who said it's in something called a GSAM. He said it's something called a GSAM 2006. He said it's something called a GSAM 2006 HG2. What's that? He said, I know what that is. Let me show you on the screen. It's right here. His mortgage is right there. And hundreds of others. Packaged together. With high interest rates. Very high interest rates. Good profit to the people who are selling the GSAM. Everybody was making money. Who was losing his house? The person who was the president of Goldman at that time when that GSAM was filling up with mortgages like Denzel's, he became Secretary of the Treasury. When he became Secretary of the Treasury, he was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. As our friend Mark Bittman, that great journalist, told us, Denzel's mortgage was a tiny piece of that profit. The story of Denzel.